Chinese test kits have failed once again, and the latest country to label them as faulty and defective is this country, India. Several Indian states have reported inaccuracies and faulty performance of the rapid antibody testing kits imported from China. These have been imported in tens of thousands into India, and now they've officially been deemed defective. The Indian Council of Medical Research has directed states across the country to stop using the newly distributed Chinese-made rapid testing kits for detection of coronavirus over the next 2 days at least. A total of 8 teams have been constituted to check complaints of high levels of variation in the test results reported by these Chinese test kits. The ICMR has said that the rapid antibody testing kits will be tested and validated in the field by expert teams before they are cleared for use by states. China, meanwhile, has reacted to the development. Its ambassador to India has said that the country does not, that is, China does not compromise on the quality of medical exports and will provide necessary help to India to resolve the issue. Well, this after the Indian Council of Medical Research has halted, like I just said, rapid antibody testing for at least 2 days after multiple inaccuracies have been reported. India recently ordered 5 lakh rapid testing kits from China. There are very few sources from where to get such kits, and China is one of them, and sadly India has had to order huge numbers from that country, and India is now the latest country to officially find that these made in China test kits are virtually useless. So what is a rapid antibody test? I want to make that clear for you so you and I are both on the same page and we understand completely what we're talking about here, what these test kits from China actually are for. They use blood samples of suspected patients. That is the sample. It takes less than 30 minutes to deliver a result. No need for any kind of trained staff, and it costs around 800 to 1500 rupees per test kit. A false report in early stages is good for later stages. So this is what this rapid antibody test kit is, and it's been imported from China as India tries to expand the amount of testing it actually does. Let's take a look at which states in India have received these faulty Chinese test kits, because this is India-wide and therefore it's something that impacts all parts of the country. Rajasthan has gotten many of these kits, Kerala has got many of these kits, Tamil Nadu has got many of these kits, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat and Punjab. Take a look at that map. That tells you where all in the country tens of thousands of these defective Chinese test kits are in use, and has now been stopped by the Indian Council of Medical Research after many of those states have reported defective variations in the results. Now let's tell you about how this is not just an Indian phenomenon. China has been profiting from the pandemic for weeks now on the back of dubious, poor quality test kits and protective equipment from across China and to different parts of the world. India only happens to be the latest country. Take a look at the list of countries buying from China. Italy, Spain, the United Kingdom, Indonesia, Malaysia, Hungary, Czech Republic, Northern Ireland, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Brazil, Japan, Mexico, Qatar, Serbia, and now India. These are all the countries that are buying equipment, test equipment and other COVID-19 equipment from China, and most of these countries have already deemed the equipment to be junk or a dud. Let's take a look. If you don't believe me, I'll list it out for you. I'll list out for the countries that have already officially pronounced that many of these kits that they've imported are virtual junk. The global test, the United Kingdom, status, defective. Netherlands, the kits that they imported from China, status, defective. Not my opinion, this is what the countries are saying. Spain has imported over 1 million of these kits from China, status, defective. Ukraine has gotten thousands of these kits from China, status, defective. Czech Republic has gotten over 1 million of these test kits from China, status, defective. Turkey, which is an ally of China, has also been, sort of stuffed with these test kits. They've also Forget about being an ally. They've also deemed these test kits as defective, and India happens to be the latest country that has formally said there is a problem with these test kits, and it's something that India cannot afford at this time. After covering up the coronavirus outbreak in December last year, China has now been accused of dumping faulty corona testing kits to various countries like we've just shown you, and they're now responsible for delivering misleading results during a very crucial part of the world's war on the coronavirus. And China, remember, is being paid for most of these test kits. They're profiting from this.
Chinese test kits to Spain, defective. Chinese test kits to Netherlands, defective. Chinese test kits to Ukraine, defective. Chinese test kit to Czech Republic, defective. Chinese test kits to Turkey, defective. Chinese face masks to Turkey, defective. In case you hadn't noticed, the global glare on China has exponentially spiked, quite like the coronavirus that had originated in the country a few months ago. A growing list of countries that had received Chinese-made test kits for the new coronavirus have called them out as defective and useless to handle the current crisis. From Spain to Netherlands to Turkey, Ukraine, Czech Republic, and even rumblings in the Philippines, the countries have signaled that they are discarding and or returning thousands of the substandard Chinese-supplied diagnostic devices. But there's a good reason why few are buying China's denials at this time. The truth is, it is China's track record in the last 3 months alone that has the world unprepared to believe a single word emanating from Beijing.
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus. We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Things began in December 2019, when China began its now infamous cover-up of the coronavirus outbreak. But the story has turned far more insidious since then. Consider just these simple facts. After covering up the original outbreak in December last year, China is widely seen as having worked with a compromised WHO to mislead the world on the true nature of the virus. Immediately next, China began exporting diagnostic kits and face masks. Meanwhile, it opened up its business landscape, allowing Chinese companies to begin a global scavenger hunt for dying assets. And as a final ironic flourish, China will now profit hugely by exporting badly needed ventilators to countries across the world. As Chinese businesses now seek to profit from the global pandemic that originated in China, the world seeks answers. And the only thing China is willing to supply is defective test kits and masks. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me live now is our Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan. Also with us is Jayadeva Ranade, President of the Center for China Analysis and Strategy. I want to go across to Geeta first. She's been tracking, the importing of Chinese test kits in India. This is a huge problem, Geeta, and it's not like, we didn't see this coming. India happens to be only the latest in a large list of countries that include the United Kingdom, Spain, and many others that have found very serious problems with Chinese test kits and other COVID-19 equipment.
Well, that's right, Shiv. India should have seen this coming, but the question that we asked even before the test kits arrived in India was, why is it that India is importing from China when most countries are calling their kits faulty? To that, the ICMR's response was that it is not for testing purposes, not for diagnosis purposes, but for surveillance. It seems like Chinese kits have failed even in surveillance issues in monitoring matters, where in some states the accuracy rate is as low as 7%, Shiv, and that's the reason why the Chinese kits right now have been put on hold. The testing has been halted, but China absolutely adamant. A source in the Chinese embassy told India Today, told me that the kits were verified and were sent to India, also saying that they should go through registered manufacturers. But it seems like registered manufacturers who've provided not just to India but also to UK have come with faulty test kits, and UK in many ways then one has not only questioned the Chinese test kits, now has also asked for a refund to close to $20 million from China, Shiv.
Yes. Incredible. I mean, there are many countries asking for refunds from China for this dodgy equipment. Mr. Ranade, how do you see this situation? The same question I would ask you is, India, was aware that China was supplying faulty equipment to other countries. Countries with a great deal of credibility have said that these kits are unusable and they actually hamper the testing efforts in those countries. Why are we in this situation, sir, where we are saddled with Chinese equipment that we cannot use?
There are 3 points here, if I may mention. Firstly, I think at this point in time, we are all caught sort of in a tight situation between a rock and a hard place. We need this equipment very quickly, the medical equipment, ventilators, respirators, PPEs, etc. And China is the one country that seems to have adequate stocks as far as the production lines are concerned.
Yes.
Therefore, most countries are looking to go to China and procure them there. But here comes the snag, if I may say. The Chinese talk about buying it only from registered companies. But the fact is that any and every company in China which can produce these is being allowed to export them. This is where I would say the Chinese government has shirked its responsibility at this time of a humanitarian crisis. But then if we go back slightly, they also delayed warning the world that the coronavirus has already come in, and they delayed the warning by 2.5 months, thereby delaying also the search for a vaccine. The second point is they launched something called a coronavirus diplomacy. So their media and their officials began projecting the sales of these this medical equipment as gifts or as donations without, and technically avoiding the word donation, but making it out to be. With the result that Spain, Italy, UK and France had to come out with statements saying there were no donations, we have bought each and every item. And the third, I think, was for us should have been that I don't know the inside story about how desperate we are or not, but we should have ramped up our own industry into meeting the demands. After all, we had a 2-3 month lead time. We should have activated our own people and tried to get them to produce this. So I think,
absolutely.
But as far as Chinese are concerned, they're certainly, profiting from others' misery. And when I say
you've said, Mr. Ranade, you've said that the Chinese government has shirked its responsibility. There has been no quality control. All manner of companies have been allowed to export this very sensitive equipment at a crucial time in the COVID-19 war. Major General Harsha Kakkar, who is also a China expert and strategic affairs commentator, is also with us. General Kakkar, made in China once again proving to be not just poor quality, but dangerous at an extremely crucial time for India's COVID-19 fight.
What about India? The whole world is today accusing China for the poor quality products. In fact, if you look at it, the only companies from which individuals buy a Chinese product are those of either Japanese or American origin, which are based in China. The Chinese product has never been better. Look at Pakistan getting used underwear masks. I mean, the quality that they've given in India, 50,000 sets. I mean, whatever you bought, not even 5.5% are in working condition. What are they trying to say? Are they trying to, project that you're helping out the globe, or you're putting the globe into greater risk? After all, when you get something, you expect to improve your situation. But what is happening? When you're getting it, you find it's not working, you are going back by a month or by 2-3 weeks. So instead of helping the world pull out of the crisis, they're pushing the world deeper into the crisis while they seek to gain even more. Whether it's their offensive actions in the South China Sea or it's elsewhere, but they're seeking to push you deeper into the virus, whereas they look to gain out of it. And therefore, very rightly, when the world says it is Chinese coronavirus, it is Chinese coronavirus.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Ranade, do you see this as China, trying to repair its reputation after those initial days, like you also rightly pointed out? Are they trying to seem magnanimous and a kind of savior to the world by doing all of this? Or is it a profiteering kind of impulse to try and profit from the pandemic?
It's definitely profiteering. It's definitely, I would say, exploiting the desperation of mankind, actually, the rest of the world. Had they wanted to be magnanimous, had they wanted to step forward as a major power that is willing to address some of the problems caused by the coronavirus that either leaked out from its lab or from the wet market, that has to be determined. It's probably leaked out from the lab. Then they should have really made, ensured that these supplies were donations, or ensured that only the companies that produced quality products should have been allowed to export them. They did neither. So I think, culpable.
Okay, so you're saying both. General Kakkar, what kind of impact is this likely to have now on the Indian fight against COVID-19? Now we're saddled with thousands upon thousands of these test kits. The ICMR has told states to activate a 2-day pause until these test kits are actually tested and validated in the field. But what if it is found that they are useless, as many other countries have found? Is India in a very bad situation then?
No, I don't. We will go back by a few days. But if you look at the statement made about 2 days ago, that every Indian ambassador almost across the globe is tapping into every company which is producing something that we need to battle the pandemic. And we're already getting it. We're getting now same equipment from South Korea. We're getting it from Taiwan. We're getting it from Singapore. I mean, we are tapping wherever and ever possible. And definitely we're building in reserves. Today evening, I saw on your news channels that we've shot up the ventilator holding by about another 13,000. So we are moving. It is a setback, definitely a setback. And the best part of it is actually going to break the trust which India has in China. And the way we acted in blocking their investment, we're going to be doing a bit more, because the trust that you wanted at a time of critical handling of human lives has been broken by China. Absolutely. And definitely it will have a rebound.
That's, I'm glad you mentioned the word trust, because, Geeta is plugged into the, the government system. And so she has been picking up the buzz from the Foreign Office side as well. Geeta, this trust factor, can you tell us a little bit about how India and the External Affairs Ministry are viewing this situation? We've been hearing from the Health Ministry and others. How is the Foreign Office seeing these faulty test kits, that the Health Ministry has now reported?
Well, given the fact that there's extreme shortage is the reason why Shiv, India turned to China in the first place, and the reasoning for turning to China was very clear, that they do not trust Chinese products for diagnosis, that it is only for surveillance, although Chinese kits failed us even on that count. But India did not rely completely on China. The Ministry of External Affairs and officials certainly quite worried about the results that have come up. But India is looking at many other countries. South Korea is going to send a lot of these kits, and we are also looking at Make in India. A South Korean company is going to start production in Manesar, which will produce about 500,000 kits per week, and that's a huge number. So we are not only looking at imports from other countries, Germany, Canada included. We are also looking at Make in India, because there is no way that the world, particularly India, right now can trust China to give us quality products.
That trust factor is completely damaged right now, and we wonder what it's going to take to get it back, especially like General Kakkar said, there is such a huge demand for this equipment right now. India has very little margin, very little elbow room to make any big alternate decisions. Jaidev Ranade, General Kakar, Geeta. Thank you very much for joining me on story number 1 here on 5 Live. The central government has come up with an ordinance to shield healthcare workers against non-stop attacks from corona villains, ignorant thugs in colonies and residential areas across the country who've been attacking, spitting on, hitting, abusing healthcare workers, nurses, doctors and policemen. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar made the announcement today at a press conference. According to the ordinance, any attack on a healthcare worker will be considered a cognizable and non-bailable offence. An investigation in such cases will be time-bound to 30 days and a verdict by a court will be issued within 1 year. Accusers and assaulters will face prison time of anywhere between 3 months and 5 years and a penalty of 50,000 to 2 lakh rupees. In case of grievous injury, the ordinance lays down imprisonments from 6 months to 7 years and a penalty ranging from 1 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees. This comes after the Indian Medical Association expressed concern over the rising cases of shameful attacks on healthcare workers. The IMA has meanwhile withdrawn plans to hold a candlelight protest today. This was after Home Minister Amit Shah reached out to doctors and the IMA, assuring them of protection. Just hours later, this ordinance was announced.
The cabinet met under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and approved promulgation of an ordinance to amend the Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 in the light of pandemic situation of COVID-19. And this actually protects the whole health fraternity. So be it harassment or be it criminal offense against them in form of violence, for this government, that's a zero tolerance area.
Poulomi live with us for more on the story. Poulomi, this looks like government action at lightning speed in this regard. A very emotive issue, non-stop number of cases, the most recent ones being, in Chennai and Bengaluru. And it looks like the IMA's decision to hold a candlelight protest may have been the last straw. And that's why the government has moved very quickly and issued this ordinance.
Absolutely. It has been welcomed by the medical fraternity because, like you said, possibly the IMA's decision to hold a candlelight protest against what was happening across the country was the last straw. And that is when the cabinet decided that they need to do whatever they can possibly in order to protect healthcare workers and those who are in the front line of India's battle against COVID-19. The Prime Minister had made several such appeals telling the people that they should not attack or harass medical professionals because what they're doing is a very noble thing, indeed putting themselves in the line of fire, quite literally. And, they're trying to save lives over here. But that didn't seem to percolate to the ground itself in a lot many cases and incidents where physically medical professionals have been harmed and attacked. And that is when today Amit Shah, the Home Minister himself, personally assured the medical fraternity that the centre would have their back, that the centre would ensure that they are safe and secure. And that is when the centre, when it met this evening, the cabinet, when it met this morning, I beg your pardon, at 11 a.m. at the Prime Minister's residence, decided that they need to promulgate this ordinance, which of course will get presidential assent in a short while from now, which now makes it a cognizable and a non-bailable offence to commit an attack against a medical professional or even harass a medical professional.
This is a message that has gone out, because people around the country must be wondering, there are enough laws to stop this kind of thing. Why was a special ordinance of this kind necessary? I would say, and Poulomi is with me on this, that not just is it corrective action in the face of all these attacks, it is also the government's message of reassurance to healthcare workers across the country that the government and the system is with them, as well as a warning against those who've continued to indulge in this kind of shameful behavior. Poulomi, thank you very much for joining me. Of course, those attacks haven't ended just yet. The latest one is this one that we're going to show you right now. A violent mob that went on the rampage in Aligarh in UP. this time not on healthcare personnel but police personnel for doing their job. The ruckus began after the police asked vegetable vendors to shut their shops in Aligarh's Bhujpura post-operational hours were over. The violent mob pelted stones on the police team, leaving one person injured. The market has now been closed. Earlier, authorities had permitted the Bhujpura vegetable market to function between 6 to 10 in the morning. Remember, this is not the first incident. Earlier, the police were also attacked in Bihar's Motihari, Rajasthan's Tonk and Punjab's Patiala. There have been attacks on the police everywhere in the country. Shivendra Srivastav with us live for more on this story from Aligarh. Shivendra, take us through what happened once again, an incident of stone pelting, this time in Aligarh.
See, this is a very shocking incident which had happened today in the morning around 11 a.m. when a police team reached to Aligarh Kotwali area to shut down shops because there is a government directions that shops can be operated only from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. When team reached there in Kotwali area bazaar, there were lots of shops open and they were trying to close them. And on this, they started scuffling with the police team and also they pelted a stone on the team in which one person got injured and he was rushed to the medical hospital nearby. But this is very shocking that again and again people are attacking on not only police, on doctors as well. 2 days back in Moradabad, today in Lucknow itself in Sadar Bazar area where police team was attacked by locals because they were trying to put law and order situation in control. So this is very shocking and that's why police persons are also very depressed. In incident of this Aligarh incident, senior police officials intervened and they rushed to the spot. They also ensured that law and order should be maintained in the area and all the food shops are closed.
And
but
I hope
this is very surprising.
And I hope that the Yogi Adityanath government, like you've been reporting as well, Shivendra, along with your team, takes action against these rioters, these people pelting stones. Their property needs to be confiscated. Any damage to limb or property needs to be deducted from these persons' property. No mercy, zero tolerance for those who attack people on the front lines of the COVID-19 fight. History created in India's tech market. Facebook buys big chunk of Reliance Jio. Mark and Mukesh's $5.7 billion handshake. Facebook now owns 9.9% of Reliance Jio. Mukesh gets platform, Mark gets reach. But what does it mean for you and me? Will WhatsApp become a super app? Will it trigger e-commerce explosion? And will there be new privacy concerns? The mega Mukesh and Mark handshake. In what is one of the biggest deals, it is the biggest technology foreign direct investment in India. Facebook has just paid India's richest man, Mukesh Ambani, $5.7 billion to pick up a 9.9% equity stake in Reliance Jio, the telecom major. This move makes Facebook Jio's largest minority shareholder, but that's not the important part. The important part is Facebook now owns nearly 10% of Reliance Jio, the company that's responsible almost overwhelmingly for the huge explosion in Indian internet users. The social media giant has said it will focus on collaborating its messaging platform WhatsApp with Reliance's e-commerce venture JioMart to enable people to connect with small businesses. Zuckerberg, in a post, said that he wants to thank Mukesh Ambani and the entire Reliance Jio team for their partnership. He further stated that India is in the middle of a major digital transformation and organizations like Jio have played a big part in getting hundreds of millions of Indian people and small businesses online.
All of us at Reliance and Jio are delighted to welcome Facebook Inc. as our long-term and esteemed partner. At the core of our partnership is the commitment that Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, and I share for the all-around digital transformation of India and for serving all Indians. Together, our two companies will accelerate India's digital economy to empower you, to enable you, and to enrich you.
That Facebook is joining forces with a new partner in India. We're making a major financial investment and we're going to become the largest minority shareholder in Jio platforms. But more than that, we're also committing to work together on some critical projects that we think are going to open up a lot of opportunities for commerce in India.
So what is this Facebook Reliance Jio mega deal really all about? Let me break it down for you and then I'll tell you what the implications are and what the big plans are. And listen carefully because this is something that you will want to know about since you use WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram. Facebook has basically invested $5.7 billion into Reliance Jio, which is owned by Mukesh Ambani. And with that, he wins a 9.9% stake in Reliance Jio. So Facebook now owns 9.9% stake in Reliance Jio. The investment now values the company at $4.62 trillion. It's the largest foreign direct investment into India in the technology sector. It's absolutely huge. $5.7 billion. That's over 45,000 crores. Now take a look at the 4-point plan that is part of this deal. This is our analysis. This is what experts say you should expect. And this is what the deal is really all about. JioMart. Listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you're interested in e-commerce and online shopping. JioMart and WhatsApp will be integrated. Remember, everyone uses WhatsApp. JioMart is online shopping. JioMart and WhatsApp will be integrated for an in-app shopping experience. Plan number 2. Jio and Facebook could expand WhatsApp into a super app, which makes it an app that can do much more than just chatting. It can also already do payments, but there are now plans for Facebook and Reliance to mix up JioMart, WhatsApp, and other applications and create a super app around the WhatsApp ecosystem. Number 3, Facebook gets the reach that it needed so far to launch what it calls Lasso. You may not have heard of it. It's an app that Facebook has launched in the United States and has been waiting to launch in India to rival TikTok. Facebook and other companies have been totally stumped by the success of TikTok and how Indians have taken to the short video format that TikTok offers. They've been dumbfounded. Now Facebook has an app to rival it called Lasso, and they see the reach that Jio offers it as some kind of a possible delivery mechanism to make Lasso popular. Number 4. Joint digital solutions for small businesses, farmers and merchants. That's the other part of the major plan that Mukesh Ambani and Mark Zuckerberg have as part of this tie-up. Now let's take a look at what both Mukesh Ambani and Mark Zuckerberg will gain from this historic $5.7 billion deal. Facebook, of course, gets access to Jio's 310 million internet users. Huge number, imagine that. 310 million internet users. Mark Zuckerberg gets access to them. Facebook also gets access to Jio's mega internet reach. 85% of the mobile internet market is dominated by Jio accounts. Number 3, Jio gets Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram's 400 million Indian users and accounts. It's all now captive as part of this partnership. Number 4, Jio's wish list is fulfilled. Carriage, content, and commerce. All 3 C's that Mukesh Ambani had outlined as the 3 requirements of the 3 big wish list items for Reliance Jio stand fulfilled by this particular partnership. Now I want to get some expert views on this. Prerna Kaul Mishra is Managing Editor, Social Media and Syndication Services at India Today Group. Javed Anwar is Senior Associate Editor, India Today Digital. He's also our Technology Editor. Prerna, coming to you first. Huge deal, $5.7 billion. India's largest FDI in the tech space. Very exciting plans. Hugely ambitious men, both these men, Zuckerberg and Ambani. What do you think is going to be the big thing to watch out for? Is it WhatsApp? Is it others? Is it something else?
Shiv, the first 2 words that came to mind when I actually read about this in the morning were masterstroke and checkmate. And I have a reason to think chess here, because if you look at this entire deal, it's like a chessboard. And it's not just the king and the queen and the bishop, it is the little pawns out there who are coming together through this deal. Now, if you look at just simply the numbers, you mentioned some of them. Reliance Jio is 388 million. Facebook is 328 million active users, monthly users. WhatsApp is 400 million. WhatsApp is rolling out its payment, the payment services. They've already got the approval, so they're going to roll it out. And Reliance Jio and the Jio, the retail e-tailing of Reliance, which is already the digital arm of Reliance, which is already major in e-tailing. Look at all of them together on a chessboard, and you know what this deal means. And Morgan Stanley is actually, and the gang has actually come up with a brilliant solution for the Indian market. And I see this going towards what you mentioned, a super app, an umbrella brand under which all the services will come through, whether it is booking your cab, ordering your food, making your payments through WhatsApp, or paying for any other service that you're consuming digitally. And by the way, this all is a bigger line that Facebook and Reliance have drawn, because if you see how it talks, it's gift wrapped into a beautiful messaging that this talks to the digital first India, which is basically something that the Prime Minister himself has been confessing so strongly. So he just had to come on board with this deal, because it is basically working very well for the larger digital India perspective, from that perspective.
Yes.
And at the same time, it's creating a super app for the consumer to stay in the app and do everything under the sun, under one app. So it is, I call it a masterstroke, but I should explain why I'm calling it a checkmate, because that Reliance tried to do the very same thing by free basics, which was stalled at that time because of regulatory. TRAI did not allow it to happen. So they stalled that move. So Facebook actually went back to the drawing board, and now they have come up with something which has given them even a better and a stronger foothold into the Indian market, which is their largest in the world.
Javed, masterstroke, checkmate. Some people have raised some concerns about privacy. I'm sure those will come up a little later. But focusing on what consumers should expect from this tie-up in terms of what they will see in terms of products and services apart from WhatsApp, is there anything else you can tell us about?
The whole deal is kind of very simple. It's basically about what WeChat is in China, and that is what something Facebook is trying to create in India with WhatsApp, and by integrating WhatsApp with JioMart. So in China, if you see, everybody uses WeChat to buy their grocery items, buy their tickets, buy cinema ticket shows, pay for taxis. Everything is done through WeChat. And WeChat is, it started as a chat app. Again, the same thing is something that Facebook wants to do in India, and they want to do it through WhatsApp. But they didn't have a good partner until now. They were trying to push the WhatsApp payment, but they were running into some issues. They are hoping that with the partnership with Jio, they will be able to solve some of those regulatory issues, and they also get Jio's reach. So it's basically the WeChat model, and and the idea is to create a super app.
The super app WeChat model. There are a couple of other things which we've also listed, which are going to be very interesting. The Lasso app, and there are a couple of other, solutions for small businesses and farmers, because a huge number of people from rural India have also come online through the Jio model. So it's going to be very exciting times. We will continue to track this exciting story. Prerna and Javed, always a pleasure. Thank you for making sense of this big story for me here on 5 Live. Well, that's a wrap on today's show. Thank you so much for joining me. As India is under this unprecedented lockdown and people's activities at home become limited, nature has finally got a chance to revive itself. I'll leave you with these images on the occasion of World Earth Day.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.